Now that we have defeated the main game, we were left with all the random side quests that the game had to throw at us. Some of them turned out to be super simple, easy, but some were draining our souls bit by bit. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. We started off the grind by trying to knock out as many of the easy achievements as possible. I made my way to the bottom of the map, unlocking the rock bottom achievement. After that, I started working on the Terra Spark boots, which have a decently long recipe, but the best part about doing that after beating the game is that we basically had all the materials apart from 3. I made my way to the snow caves in search of the ice gates, but no luck, so instead I started working on a mushroom biome. To get the mushroom to move in, you need to have a surface mushroom biome. We didn't have one actually, so we had to create one. Doing so granted a Funky Town achievement. We were still determined to get that Terra Prisma, so we fought the Empress of Light again, but still no luck. So I humbled myself by going back to searching for the ice gates, and they were no joke. I was down there for a while and still no luck. So when I went for a third time, and when I was on the verge of giving up, I finally found the ice gates. But the next thing I needed was the obsidian rose. The problem is this item has a 5% chance to drop from a fire imp, which is not a lot. So off I went to the underworld, but again no luck. And when we tried moving the truffle in his mushroom house, turns out the housing was corrupted. So we moved the mushroom biome a bit further. With that we tried beefing with the Empress of Light again, but yep. So back to the underworld I went in search for the obsidian rose. By this point I was giving up on that rose, so I went into the ocean to look for water chests which can contain water walking boots, and luck was on my side with this, as the first chest I found had the item I needed. That literally left the obsidian rose, so back in the underworld until I finally got one. After a good hour of searching, I could finally craft the Terra Spark boots, unlocking the Boots of the Hero achievement. A nice and easy achievement was crafting a molten pickaxe, so I got some obsidian, making that pickaxe granted the Miner for Fire achievement. Another super easy achievement was crafting a rainbow rod, which we already had all the materials for, and that granted a Priz Monster achievement. Last but not least, crafting a Drax, which again we had everything for, granted the Drax attack achievement. Equipping a full set of bee armor and shooting a bee gun granted the Not the Bees achievement. After the pain we went through with the Moon Lord, this was a very nice change of pace. Another really easy achievement to knock out was equipping a die in every slot possible, granting the Die Hard achievement. After that, I made my way to the dungeon in search of a hallowed chest, as it contains the rainbow gun, which we need for achievement. After like a good half an hour, I finally found it, and shooting that gun whilst riding a unicorn granted the Rainbows and Unicorns achievement. One of the rather easy achievements I haven't got yet is the Archaeologist achievement for killing Dr. Bones, so I spent countless nights going back and forth in the jungle with battle potions and water candles in hopes he would spawn. Many nights were spent like this. Anyways, borrowing my friend's summoning set and spawning in the dragon granted me the You and What Army achievement before trying to fight the Empress of Light again, which literally lasted 10 seconds. Whilst I was busy with all these random side quests, my friend has been putting together the different components of the Zenith sword, which looks something like this. But back to searching for Dr. Bones that night, to the no avail, so we summoned the Empress of Light, which went like it always does. So instead we summoned in the Old One's army, which was no issue, unlocking the Hero of Etheria achievement for taking down the final tier. The last sword we needed for the Zenith was the Horseman's Blade, which you get from these pumpkin dudes. So we summoned a Pumpkin Moon to get that, meaning we could now make the Terror Blade for the Sword of the Hero achievement and the Zenith for the Infinity +1 sword achievement. Back in the jungle I went that night to look for Dr. Bones with, yet again, no luck, but there is an achievement to defeat the Dread Nautilus, which you can fish up during a blood moon, but the chances of it spawning are pretty small, so that night I got nothing. The truffle finally moved into the house we built in the mushroom biome, granting us the Ick and Talk achievement. And right after that, my friend crafted the Ankh shield, which wasn't super difficult, granted the Accumulation complete achievement. That, we summoned the Empress of Light again, where this happened. And even though we were both dead, this dragon finished off the Empress of Light, finally getting us the Terra Prisma weapon and the Faith Layer achievement. Good lord, that was even worse than the Moon Lord. Anyways, we now had the Terra Prisma, meaning we were at the literal peak of our classes, and there were very few bosses more difficult than that. Placing a ton of torches down summons the God of Torches, which was a bit underwhelming I must say, but eating the Torch God's favor unlocked the Torch God achievement. Funnily enough, we had a golden squirrel lying around, which we used to make the Golden Delight, granting the Feast of Midas achievement. Another easy achievement to knock out was getting a quad racer drone from the cyborg and just holding W until it reaches the top of the map for the To Infinity and Beyond achievement. I continued my search for the Doctor that night, but still no luck. However, there is an achievement for getting every slime pet, and the only ones we were missing were the Mystic Slime, which you get by purifying a mystic frog, and the Diva Slime, which you get by dropping a sparkle slime balloon into Shimmer. Getting those unlocked the Great Slime Mitosis achievement. Another easy one to knock out was drinking some water whilst drowning, granting the Unusual Survival Strategies achievement. After that, I made the Zenith world, which is a combination of all the seeds and basically creates a weird and distorted world. Doing so granted the Rare Realm achievement for using a special seed. We started making our way up and eventually run into this random friendly boulder, unlocking the Fortune Favors the Bold achievement. Eventually making our way up and off the map granted the My People Need Me achievement. We found a random ass guitar somewhere and playing it unlocked the Spicy Legs achievement, after which I died so that my gravestone can kill my friend, granting the Grave Mistake achievement. The last thing we can do on this world was craft Okran's Razor, which summons all 3 mechanical bosses combined into one, and it might sound scary, but they really weren't, and defeating that thing unlocked the Queen Machine achievement. With that out of the way, we went back home and I continued my search for the Doctor. Obviously no luck, but we had some Joji collars from Stardew Valley lying around, and giving one to the Dryad granted the Interdimensional Recycling achievement and the cutest Junimo as a pet. Another nice and easy achievement to do was crafting the coffin minecart and getting in it for the Roller in Your Grave achievement. Next night, I went back to search for the Doctor, and still nothing. One of Terraria's most infamous achievements is completing 200 fishing quests, so I got the Mechanics fishing rod as it's the best one you can buy, but I wasn't mentally prepared for that yet. So I continued my spree of random side quests. For example, dunking one of the NPCs in Shimmer gives them a different look and gets you the New Digs achievement. Another one is putting on a pair of sunglasses during a sunny day for the On Fleek achievement. The next night I continued my search for the Doctor, but this approach clearly was not working, so I changed strategy to reusing the Plantera arena as a mob farm, which worked wonders because literally 2 minutes later he finally spawned, granting me the Archaeologist achievement. Continuing with the random side quests, fishing in a lava pond unlocks the Hot Rails achievement, and after that I summoned another Blood Moon in hopes of catching the Dreadnoughtus, but my luck with these things tends to be awful. So I thought I'd make a start on the most grueling run-off achievement possible, the fishing achievements, and completing my first ever quest granted me the Servant in Training achievement. I tried fishing on a Blood Moon again the next night, where I finally got the Dreadnoughtus for the Don't Dread on Me achievement. Now one of the other absolutely massive achievements in this game is Bookworm, where you have to catalog every creature in the world, and it is way more difficult than it sounds because there's about 550 of them. We already had about 85% of them, so surely how long can it take? I started this journey by getting the cat, dog and bunny licenses from the zoologist. After that I made a Flymeel sword using some stink bugs, and hitting an NPC with it unlocked the Terrorist achievement. I then completed another fishing quest and condemned my friend to this mob farm in the Hallow because one of the achievements requires you to get a Rod of Discord. This has a very small chance of dropping from elementals, which spawns in the Hallow, so for the next couple days, this was his life. The next day I completed another fishing quest, after which I started creating a little pond. One of the animals I needed for the bestiary is a duck, which spawns in ponds near NPCs. I made an explosive bunny for another entry in the book, and then I went underground to search for squirrels and bunnies of different gems. There's 7 different variants of each one, so I was down there for a while. I needed to switch up tasks a little bit, so I started making another pond in the desert in hopes of spawning a grebe? I don't know. I did another fishing quest, but I'm not going to bother telling each and every one of them because I've got about 195 left to do, but just know that this was a daily occurrence from now. After that though, I went back to searching for squirrels and bunnies, but the process was a bit slow, so I set up a mini spawner in hopes they'll come quicker. With that, we summoned in the Frostmoon event because if you reach wave 15, you get a day of Christmas. During that Christmas day, mobs can drop presents with various things, one of which being a globe. I'll explain that when we get there, but in the meanwhile, I got back to searching for squirrels and rabbits until I finally got them all. I then made a vicious bunny and penguin, which was 2 more creatures ticked off the list. With that globe I mentioned earlier, you can spawn in the Frost Legion pumpkins, which is a piss easy event that gives you the Do You Want to Slay a Snowman achievement. Turns out that the pain of trying to get the Dreadnoughtus was not over. Apparently it can spawn these shitty little squids, and because I instantly shot on it the first time, it didn't spawn any, so I had to get it again in order for it to spawn the minions for the bestiary. But even though it didn't spawn, I got something even crazier. The Advanced Combat Technique book has a very small chance to be fished up. What this does is it increases the defense and strength of all villagers, which is not that cool, but it's still super rare. But then if you get a spell term from the wizard and chuck it in Shimmer, you get the 2nd volume and hence the Training Day achievement. But what happened after was even crazier. My friend finally got the Rod of Discord, unlocking the Organized Chaos achievement. Those two things happening one after the other was ridiculously lucky. The third biggest achievement to complete is Good Riddance, where you have to cure the entire world of all Hallow, Crimson and Corruption, which might sound easy until you realize this is a very tedious job, because if you miss even one block, it doesn't count. So I took on the responsibility of completing the bestiary whilst my friend cures the entire world. Anywho, we had Santa visit us finally, so that's another entry done, after which I got the Good Little Slave achievement for completing my 10th fishing quest. The desert bird wasn't spawning, so I made another massive pond in the other desert in hopes that it will eventually spawn. I went back to fishing for the Dread Nautilus, but of course I had no luck, so I came back the next night where they finally spawned. I hope you're starting to understand how painful this achievement was going to be. The next target was the maggot zombie, which spawns in a graveyard when you have negative luck, so I broke some mirrors, killed some ladybugs and hoped for the best, but no luck for the first night. I was still waiting on the turtle and grab to spawn, so I made a couple more ponds in hopes that they will eventually appear. Again, whilst I was doing all this, my friend was busy cleaning the map, and it looked something like this by this point. During that, he stumbled upon a trap chest, and opening it granted the Dead Men Tell No Tales achievement. Anyways, I made my way to the dungeon for the next bounties, the Paladin and the Skeleton Commando. For the past couple of days, my friend has been putting together the cell phone for the Black Mirror achievement, which has a recipe that looks a little bit like this. That night, I also ran into the maggot zombie, so that's another off the list. The final upgrade to the cell phone is the shell phone, which we made for the See You Later achievement. The next couple creatures on my list was some desert underground crimson monsters. What a mouthful. So I dug out a big area under the desert, laid down a wooden barrier as a final line of defense to stop the crimson from spreading, and I made a couple crimson platforms. The couple mobs I was looking for spawned pretty quickly, so that was nice, but by this point the map eradication was coming along even better. There was a sandstorm in the desert where I was able to find a sand shark for the bestiary, after which I hopped on a different world with corruption on it to get some Ebelstone blocks, because I was going to create an artificial corruption biome. We dug out this massive area and I started making a couple platforms in hopes of getting the corruption monsters for the bestiary. In fairness, this worked for a couple mobs, like the corruption slimes, which finally got me the Gelatin World Tour achievement for defeating every type of slime. Later that night, I started a pumpkin moon because there was a couple Halloween themed monsters I needed, like skeletons and the flying eyes for the bestiary. That day, I changed out the drip a little bit to a fish, but it brought me luck apparently because a grab thing, desert bird, finally spawned.
Yo, dude.
Although there was a tiny problem. My artificial biome wasn't spawning majority of the mobs I needed, so I had to go back to the drawing board. I summoned another pumpkin moon the next night for the last final Halloween themed mobs, which I found eventually. I created a corrupt bunny, penguin and goldfish with some powder, and all I was missing at this point was the corrupt mobs, a mob found in Hallow, in the ice biome, and a turtle. I then found out I was a massive idiot. Most of the corrupt mobs I needed weren't spawning because my biome was shit. Turns out you can buy this red solution from a steampunker, which turns biomes into crimson, but if you shimmer it, you get the purple solution. The purple solution you can literally spray over a piece of land to corrupt it. So I dug out a quarantine zone and sprayed it all with purple solution to make a corrupt biome. Whilst I was doing this, my friend had 1% left on the Hallow and he was slowly going crazy trying to find where it is, with the map looking something like this. One thing that did go well, however, is that I got the Trapped Monkey achievement for completing my 25th fishing quest. But there was one problem with my artificial biome. I built in the underground layer, but most of the enemies I needed only spawn in the cavern layer, which is deeper down. So when I did finally realize, I dug out another artificial biome, a lot deeper this time, after which this happened. I finally found the turtle, which might not sound that good, but I've been looking for this turtle for literal weeks. And it was the last passive creature I needed. Anyways, after excavating the trench, I sprayed the area with corruption, which worked very quickly, but I was only missing about 5 corrupt creatures, so we were slowly getting there. The curing of Hallow and Crimson, however, wasn't going so well. The last creatures I needed from this artificial corruption was the corrupt mimic, so I spent a good half an hour just flying around until I finally got one. After that though, I crafted the worm food and spawned in the Eater of Worlds, which got me the worm fodder achievement for defeating it. The Boned Biter is another corrupt creature I needed, and for that you need a sandstorm in a corrupt desert, so I made another artificial biome for that, but it was just a waiting game until a sandstorm started. 2 of the other corrupt creatures I needed were found in the underground desert, so I yet again made another artificial biome, but those didn't take long. And the next day a sandstorm was happening, so I quickly found the bone biter, meaning I was so close to completing the bestiary. The last creatures now were the pigron variants, which spawn in ice biomes that overlap with corruption or hallow, and I needed both of those. So I made a corrupted ice biome and found the corrupt version, after which I set up a hallow biome until I finally got the pigron variation for the bookworm achievement, meaning I catalogued every creature in the game. It was now just a matter of cleaning the whole world of whatever was left of the Crimson. And just when we thought we were done, the Dryad did not think the same. But I will admit, we were unfaithful. Instead of searching every square inch of the map for the 1% that was left, we looked up the map on this website to find the missing 1%, and we cleaned it that way. Look, my friend has been doing this for days, if not weeks, and we were on the verge of rage quitting our life. So, after clearing some bits here and there, we finally got the And Good Riddance achievement. And you might think we are done, but we are not. There is a couple more achievements I can get on different worlds with special conditions or in journey mode, and if you think the achievements were hard, the last achievement took me 12 whole hours. There was a couple side quests we wanted to complete for now, so we first grabbed the vampire outfit and made the world with the seed. What a horrible night to have a curse. You spawn at the bottom of the map, and once you reach the top you start burning from the sunlight, which gets you the Fear the Sun achievement. If you make a hardcore character in a world with the celebration and constant seeds and then die, you get the extra life achievement. Finally, if you make a world with a drunk and for the worthy seeds and type in the seed bring a towel, you can do quite a couple achievements in that. First off, once the storm starts, boulders will fall from the sky for the It's Jailing Outside achievement. Now the next two will require a bit more preparation. We waited for the guide to move in, took down the wall of flesh, and then found the Moon Lord legs in a chest. After that, we fought all 3 mechanical bosses, took down Pantera and the Golem. What the fuck? After which we summoned the Moon Lord, which is quite a bit more difficult with these seed settings. But it's not as if that was a problem for us, so taking him down gave us the Boulder Lord achievement. Lastly, we found the Moon Lord torso in the dungeon, and equipping the whole set unlocked the Mini-Me achievement. We now had 3 fishing achievements left and the Trash Compactor achievement. Completing 200 fishing quests is pure torture and time waste, so call this cheating if you want, but I cheesed them a little bit. I made the world in journey mode and found the angler, after which I spent a good while catching bait before fishing for a Scorpio fish. If you get 2 of them in journey mode, you can replicate them basically infinitely and give them to the angler. If you then leave the game and change your character's name by adding a number, you can come back in and give him another fish. And all you have to do is this 200 times. Eventually I completed my 50th quest, which got me the Fast and Fishiest achievement, and shortly after I got the Golden Fishing Rod 2 for the Glorious Golden Pole achievement. Only about 150 more to go. But after a good 45 minutes I finally fished the 200th quest for the Supreme Helper Minion achievement. Now what is the most difficult achievement to get in Terraria? You might think it's the one that requires you to complete the bestiary, or the Good Riddance achievement for clearing all the corruption in the world, or even the 200 fishing quests. But no, in the recent 1.4.5 update there is now one that's even worse, and it took me nearly 12 hours to get. The Trash Compactor achievement requires you to research 50% of items in journey mode, which might not sound like much until you realize there is 6,000 items in the game. So here's how I did it. To research an item, you need to collect a specified amount of them. After that, you can grab an infinite amount of that resource. I also used this website to track the items I researched and attempt to be a bit more organized. The whole achievement is just a matter of getting a material and making as many things out of it as possible. I was playing with God mode to make my life easier, so I headed to the dungeon to grab all sorts of paintings and decorations, but that didn't give me as much as I had hoped. So I went underground to find any ores or materials I could get my hands on, after which I made my way back to make some houses and get NPCs to move in. I also set up a massive platform to hold as many materials as possible, because if I wanted to craft 3,000 items, I was going to need a massive variety of items. Buying everything from NPCs is also a good strategy, as they have tons of diverse items, so I wanted to try and get all the NPCs to move in. I made my way to the desert to find some new materials again, because not going to lie, that's all there is to this achievement. I get materials, I go and craft as much as I possibly can with those, trade with NPCs, and repeat the cycle another 100 times. I'm not joking, I crafted an inhumane amount of furniture sets. Another good way to get quite a lot of loot is by fighting each boss 3 times to get an infinite amount of treasure bags and hence get all the loot possible. So I then proceeded to spend days upon days just crafting every single thing possible. After a while I went to take down the Brain of Cthulhu as well, and I know there's not a lot of interesting stuff happening, but this is what 75% of the gameplay looks like. Anyways, I made a elevator to get obsidian and hellstone to get this, research more shit. I then took down the wall of flesh and the skeleton for the loot bags, and by this point, I don't really have much recollection of what happened. Everything was just a blur of grinding materials and crafting piles and piles of shit. And then I would continue crafting more and more mountains of items, day and night and day and night. Go out, find NPCs, get new materials, go back and craft everything possible. Go out again to find even more stuff, go back to craft even more stuff. Again and again and again, and grind mobs for their loot, craft furniture sets and furniture sets, defeat bosses for treasure bags, and go back to crafting again and again. This achievement is so much worse than any other achievement. Anyways, enough crying. I went to fight Pantera, the queen bee and the golem to progress the main game a bit, just to get back to crafting fucking furniture sets. It's always just the damn furniture sets. The reason they're so clutch is that you can get about 20 different items from just one material. Anyways, I wanted to finish the main game, so I took down the pillars, which are great because clearly you can craft quite a lot of shit out of them. And then I took down the moon lord a couple times for his treasure bag because he also has quite a lot of items. I couldn't unlock any more progression items, so now the strat was to make the drill containment unit and break every single block to make as many furniture sets as I can. Another strat was the moon events, as you can get a ton of different loot and outfits from them, but it felt like my efforts amounted to nothing because 3,000 items is a lot of items. But eventually, after 12 whole hours of sheer determination and about 1,000,000 sets of furniture, this happened. Oh my god. Oh my god. What? Oh my god. I did it. And good god am I glad that it's finished. We finally got the trash compactor achievement. This was easily the most tedious and annoying achievement to get by a large margin, but that does mean that the game is now finished. We got the badge and Terraria is 100% complete. Looking back at our beginnings, at how poor and how unknowledgeable we were, and comparing it to now where I've got every single achievement, it's almost beautiful seeing how pure we were at the start. Anyways, thank you so much for watching my video. If you enjoyed, a like, comment or subscribe goes way further than you can imagine, and if you want to see more of this types of videos, do check out the rest of my channel. I've completed plenty of games and other challenges, so if you have a game that you absolutely love and you want me to check out, do leave it in the comments. Anyways, peace.